It's Keep Kids Safer on the Internet Week, also known as Safer Internet Week. And I'm here with you today to share tips on how you, as a parent, can keep your kids safe, whether they are toddlers and not using the internet yet, or teens who are definitely in the nitty gritty of using online spaces. So, if you're interested in learning about how to keep your kids safer before they even get online, if they're, babies or toddlers or teens, this is your call to action. So welcome. Thanks for being here. I'm Rosalia Rivera, the founder of Consent Parenting. This is my platform where I teach parents how to educate their families about body safety, boundaries, and consent. I'm a consent educator and prevention expert, and I'm here today to talk to you about Safer Internet Week. So February 8th is officially the day worldwide where we focus on how to keep kids safer online. But this isn't just about what to teach kids to do and to stay safe. And if you have a young child and you're like, oh, they're not online yet, this is still for you. So please tune in, pay attention, because I'm going to give you some tips on how you can keep your kids safe, because your actions and your behavior online actually increase the risk or decrease the risk of harm to your child. So we're going to talk about what that looks like and what tips you can take, including if you're a single parent and you use dating apps. So tune in if you are interested in any of that. So welcome and thanks for being here. I come on live every week on Thursdays to share book reviews and tips on how to keep your family safer, right? So I know that if you've never experienced any of these kinds of issues or know anyone who's experienced them, it doesn't mean that you don't have to pay attention to this. It's all the more important that we do focus on these things today, because through the pandemic, internet crimes and abuse of exploitation of children has skyrocketed in the last 2 years since the pandemic started. And I know nobody wants to hear that. It's not a happy truth, but it is an important one that we need to pay attention to so that we can keep our kids safer. So if you are here live, please say hello and let me know that you're tuning in. And if you have any questions, feel free to drop them into the comment section. I'll be answering those at the end. And if you're watching on the replay, please say hello and let me know that you are tuning in after. All right, so I put together some information here for you so that we can jump into it, right? So one of the first things that you need to understand is that what you share about your child and your family increases their risk of exposure to online and offline predators. Now, like I said, not a happy truth. Nobody wants to hear that, but it is in fact very true. What we share online, and this is actually now a term called sharenting, because people have heard about, like, people are posting so much about their kids online to the point that it's become an actual term. So sharenting means the oversharing of photos, videos, and personal information about you or your family. And particularly with your family, because it's parenting and sharenting. And so this is something that is now very common for parents to do because it's so easy to just post stuff online. But there are a lot of dangers that are involved, and we're going to talk about some of those today. So it's also important to note that the behaviors and your actions, how you post about yourself and how much time you spend online, and all of those habits that you have around online use are things that you're modeling to your kids, right? To let them know this is okay or this is not okay. So if you're telling your child, you're spending way too much time online, but then you're attached to your phone all the time, that behavior is giving your children the model for how it's okay for them to use screens and technology, right? So be cautious of how you use that. The other piece that a lot of people don't recognize, and particularly parents, is that predators are mining information about children. They are actively looking for information through your account about where the child lives, how old they are, what school they go to, what are their favorite foods, which they can later use when trying to access that child through grooming. Now, this can work in two different ways. This can work one way in that if your child is online, if they're a teen or a tween and they're starting to use the internet and they're in chat rooms, or maybe they're using some kind of social media app, well, now an offender who is looking to target that child can very easily gain information if the child's account is maybe not necessarily private, or even if it is private and they can start to connect with the child and the child hasn't been taught about online safety or certain specific things of how to be careful of who they connect with online. Well, now that child, who they're connected to, that predator can find out who they are if they connect with the parent's account, and your account is not private and you're sharing lots of information about your child. Well, now that offender can very easily get that information about the child and use it to groom your child, right? So if they find out information about where you've traveled to or foods that they like or things, what school they're going to or what grade they're in, now they can take that information, go back to your child's account, start a conversation with them that seems very friendly. Oh, I know your parents, or, we went to the same vacation spot, or I love those same foods. And it makes it that much easier for an offender to groom the child and gain access to them because they can very easily build trust. So what you share about your family online can have some pretty scary implications if you are not being careful and cautious of what you share and how you share it. If your account is public, for example, but even if it's not, if there is an offender in your circle that you're not aware of, they can still gain all access to that information and use it to groom your child. So that's one of the ways and one of the reasons why it's so important that you're careful about what you share. Another reason is that because you may share information about the location, again, if your child is perhaps wearing, a school emblem on their uniform, or there is some kind of landmark image of the school and the background, there's some identifiable information about location, or you have your location settings on for photos that you take, it's very easy for a predator to find out where your child goes to school. There have been situations, I remember speaking to a friend who knew someone in their community, this was in Florida, where a child was, potentially going to be abducted because the parent had shared information. And I guess there was like a school emblem. There was something that was very identifiable. And this person went to the school and tried to pick up the child. Fortunately, there were other adults nearby that were able to intervene, but they were able to access information about where the child went to school because of what the parent was sharing online very openly. So these are not, imaginary cases. These are things that have happened and that a lot of parents are just not aware of. So it's, again, important that we are careful with the information that we share, and also what our privacy settings are and location settings, right? So it's important that you take note of what you have on all of your social media accounts in terms of personal information about you, location markers for photos and things like that. The other thing is also that when we post photos of our kids and maybe they are, playing it, on the beach or at the pool or at the bath, and maybe they're potty training, and we post these pictures in very innocent ways, thinking they're super cute, and we, do hashtag toilet training or hashtag kids at the beach. These are unfortunately predator attracting hashtags that can make it easier for an offender to find the photo, steal it, and Photoshop it. There has been reports where a number of images like this are used on, where they are Photoshopped and they are used in other ways, which, there are online predator communities where they trade this kind of content, and they are using these in very unsavory ways. Like, obviously not the kind of thing that we want to think about, but these truths are something that we have to confront and face and figure out how to make sure that our images that we're sharing are safer. And so ways that you can do that is, instead of posting those kinds of images online, share them specifically with the people that you want to share them. Be cautious of the kinds of hashtags that you use that could be attracting predators. Like I said, things where, hashtag bath time or hashtag potty time or potty training or, kids at the beach, like those kinds of things, those hashtags can attract unfortunate, bad actors, and they can be taking and stealing those kinds of images. There was a story, in fact, of a woman, it was in the news, where she had posted a photo of her daughter in a parenting group on Facebook. And that particular photo, that image, down to what she was wearing, the daughter was wearing in this photo, were copied to make a child sex doll. And this doll was now being sold. The mom ended up, somebody found it through some way. I don't know exactly how, but they sent it to the mom because they realized, oh my God, this was a photo that was in this parenting group. And I just saw this image, and it was like on a site where they were selling these kinds of sex dolls. And it was almost a carbon copy image of this child, right? So this was in the news, and there is now a court case trying to move forward to ban sex dolls from being sold in the United States. And you can learn more about that from the Child Rescue Coalition .com website. So these are not, again, not stories that are made up or fabricated to scare parents, but these are in fact situations that are happening every day all over the world. And it's because parents are not aware of how their own actions, whether their child is a toddler or a teen, are impacting the safety, their safe exposure or unsafe exposure online, right? So since this is Safer Internet Week, I wanted to share with you some ways that you can change your behavior so that you're keeping your kids safer online. And what I wanted to share lastly before we wrap up is that one of the things that a lot of single parents don't realize is also that because they are single parents, they're in a higher risk group for their children being targeted. Unfortunately, predators go after a lot of times parents who are single parents, and they've started targeting them. This has been an increasing trend over the last 10 years, where offenders look for single parents through dating apps. And they look specifically for parents who are showcasing photos of their kids, who talk openly about, I'm a parent, I have 3 kids, they're this age, I have a boy and a girl, or whatever that is. So reducing the information that you share on those dating apps will also reduce the likelihood that you're attracting predators who are looking to access children through the parent. So when you are sharing an image of your profile for a dating app, just use an image of yourself. If you are, if you have more than one child, you don't need to put their ages and their photos in there, or, what gender they are. Reduce the amount of information that you share about your family. A red flag from a potential predator is if they are asking excessively about your children very early on in the, questions that you share about yourselves. So be cautious of that as well, especially as Valentine's Day is coming up. And dating apps are buzzing. This is a time to be particularly cautious. So word to the wise, word from the wise, that it's important to be cautious of what you share everywhere on the internet. What was your best takeaway, and what did you learn from today? I would love to hear it. Post it in the comments and let me know. And if you have any questions, of course, feel free to reach out. I'm available here on Facebook or on Instagram, as well as Twitter, or at consentparenting.com. And if you'd like more information about grooming, which is something that I mentioned earlier, a lot of parents aren't aware of that, head over to consentparenting.com. I have a free PDF where you can learn the 10 grooming signs to look for, so that you can make sure that the people in your circle are safe and you can spot the ones that aren't. All right, friends, thanks so much for watching. I'll see you next Thursday here at Consent Parenting on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and Twitter. You can find me everywhere, or head over to consentparenting.com. Have a good one. We'll see you next time.